Hello and welcome back to the Project Management PrepCast, the gold standard in project management certification prep. I'm your instructor, Cornelius Fichtner. It is impossible for us project managers to perform all the work on a project. That's why we must practice the art of delegation. It's also the reason that we have this lesson here where we compare delegation and micromanagement. We explain the benefits of avoiding micromanagement in favor of a hands-on approach. This requires that we understand the qualities of the activities that we can and cannot delegate, and be able to identify the common mistakes people make when delegating and how to avoid them. In the end, delegation is not just telling someone what to do. It is about the capacity, growth, development, and the empowerment of others. Generally speaking, delegation is good, can save money and time, help build skills, and serves as a powerful motivator. The primary concept that we're trying to get across is that proficiency in the art of delegation facilitates leveraging the experience, ambition, and talents of your team, whether you are a project manager or not, to perform work on your behalf. Leveraging others' talents has numerous benefits. The biggest is that it allows more work to get done because you do not have to do all the work. It improves morale and increases team trust, and in the long run, delegation advances the careers of the delegator and the delegate. In a couple of words, delegation makes you and others successful. To start this discussion, we look at the definition of the word delegation, in this case from Wikipedia. Delegation is the assignment of any responsibility or authority to another person, normally from a manager to a subordinate, to carry out specific activities. It is important to understand that the delegation is transferring responsibility, authority, or both, to the delegate, who is the recipient of the action. Delegation usually happens to a subordinate, such as from a project manager to a team member, but can also occur between peers and even up the chain of command. It is important to understand that delegation is not abdication. You cannot wash your hands off some tasks by delegating them. You as the delegator still retain the accountability for the outcome. However, delegation expands the decision-making authority to include the delegate and empowers the delegate with the ability to make decisions. Essentially, delegation expands your capabilities to get work done. Usually when we enter the business world, we are accustomed to doing everything ourselves. In school, it is up to us to study, do our classwork, and take the exams. Many of us would do much better in school if we had been able to delegate a class or two to someone else, but we can't. Therefore, delegation is often one of the first skills that we need to learn in business. Entry-level jobs often cater to controlling every aspect of a task. We find comfort in that because we are used to it. But as we grow and start leading small groups, become a manager, and earn promotions, delegation becomes a core concept that we must master. Delegation benefits us in many ways because it is one step in our personal development, enabling our leadership skills, and it helps train our successors so that a promotion does not leave a hole in the organization. In other words, it helps with succession planning. It helps us, the organization, and the delegate. As with many actions in life, it is sometimes better to look at the opposite action to understand its value. Well, the opposite of effective delegation is micromanagement. Nearly all of us have suffered under a micromanager. It's that boss who hovers over his or her direct reports, scrutinizing every word or number, giving too much input and direction, and incessantly reviewing their work. I have a friend who told me about an interview he was in when his prospective boss took the pen out of his hand to write my friend's notes for him. This cued him to check around, and sure enough, that boss was a notorious micromanager. This over-involvement in people's work destroys teamwork, thwarts thrust, limits people's growth, and restricts and hobbles the organization. No one wins. Micromanagement can exist anywhere in the organization, but it is common in project management. You generally do not need to look too hard to find project managers who closely observe and control the work of project team members. These managers want to control the how, the what, and the when of every aspect of the project because they simply cannot let go. They do not trust their team members to do the work properly without constant oversight. Micromanagement is common in project management because people who pay attention to detail make good project managers. But just because monitoring and controlling is a process group does not mean that the project manager needs to be the one doing it. Now then, let me step out on a limb and ask, are you a micromanager? How might you know? Here are a few signs to look for in yourself. Maybe you have a close friend who can help you answer these questions. Do you resist delegating and want to do everything yourself? Do you immerse yourself in overseeing the tasks of others? Maybe you are correcting tiny details instead of looking at the big picture, or take back delegated work if you find a mistake or something you dislike. Do you discourage others from making decisions without consulting you? If you are starting to feel defensive with any of these questions, you might want to take an extra note of this lesson, but I'm sure you answered no to all of them. The effects of micromanagement can hurt the entire organization. Micromanagers restrict the ability of the team to develop and grow because people are not trusted. The lack of trust impacts the team members' self-esteem and limits what the team can achieve. Lack of progress is worsened by everything needing to be funneled through the micromanager. These items add up to the organization's efficiency dropping. If the micromanager fails to change his or her ways, frustrated or fearful team members will resist working for the micromanager. In the end, employees ask for transfers or quit, and contractors raise their rates or look for other clients. Organizations suffer from a micromanagement culture. Micromanagement results in two bigger issues for the perpetrator. They are considered poor managers and lackluster leaders. When people fail to delegate, they are grossly misusing resources and time. They are inadequately handling their own as well as others' time. It could be lack of trust or a big ego that gets in the way of delegating, but this is a common affliction with new managers. It ultimately results in people feeling disrespected and disempowered, hindering them from using their skills to solve problems, while good managers empower team members to get tasks done quicker. Micromanagers take basic management practices to extremes, which interferes with team members properly doing their work. Micromanagers often exhibit the traits of being controlling, dictatorial, judgmental, and overly critical. They view themselves as the best person to do any job. They are doers as opposed to someone overseeing an effort. Often these people are seen as people who step on others and oppose their teams. The worst issue is that micromanaging indicates that a person has nearly a complete lack of leadership skills. Management is about compliance to rules and processes, while micromanagement is paying too much attention to adherence. However, leadership is about painting a vision and allowing self-direction. People lacking that leadership capability find refuge in micromanagement. Poor leaders tend to micromanage because they are afraid, even fearful, that if they do not hover over someone, the job will not get done correctly. Deficient leaders are often unable to define tasks and responsibilities in a manner for which others can do the task. In general, this results in a chaotic environment because people cannot see what is happening and where the leader is taking them. This lack of vision leaves groups directionless, and the supposed leader has to get involved, continually worsening the micromanagement. There may be personal control issues, as the leader needs to appear to be more knowledgeable than others as well. The combination paints a dismal picture that all of us want to avoid. There are some ways of avoiding being a micromanager. As in solving any problem, the first step is admitting that it exists. Simple enough, right? Well, maybe not so much. Who really wants to admit to such a fault? But if you fail to admit that you are micromanaging a situation, it never changes. If you are serious about growth and development, you need to address any micromanagement tendencies and implement measures to put an end to it. Next, you need to solicit feedback from your managers and staff. The people around you can help you focus on the worst offenses that are most harmful to you and your team. Finally, you need to identify the root cause of your micromanagement tendencies. A lack of trust or confidence can lead to micromanagement. For instance, starting with a new and unfamiliar team could be a reason to lack trust and confidence. If you find that you display tendencies that are harming your relationship with your team and potentially making you an inefficient member of the organization, you may want to explore what is causing you to micromanage. Once fixed, start delegating. If it wasn't apparent before, it should be quite obvious by now that micromanagement has no value to the organization, the team, or you. It should be avoided in nearly every case. Delegation, on the other hand, is vital for effective management and leadership and can be used as a dynamic tool for motivating and training your team and gaining their full potential. Delegation is a critical tool for managers, allowing you and your staff to use and develop team member skills and knowledge to their fullest potential. So, why should you as a manager want to delegate some of your work? After all, won't that make others think that you are not capable of doing the things for which you are responsible? Absolutely not. Remember, it is the job of the manager to accomplish work with and through others. Until you involve others, you will probably struggle with your role as a manager. You may feel like you have more tasks than time to do them. You may feel overwhelmed by the workload and responsibilities. You may hate coming into work because facing the day is so difficult. You may even begin to have stress-related illnesses or relationship problems. Delegation is one of the biggest tools in our personal and business toolbox to help you make life easier. Being the opposite of micromanagement, it should come as no surprise what the benefits are. First and foremost, it's time. You get more work accomplished because more people can work on the tasks. The side benefit is that direct reports become more involved, engaged, and invested in your project, which increases productivity. Offloading this work helps you manage your workload better and helps develop the skills of your direct reports. The result is you build high-performance teams and your stress level decreases. That is a lot of benefit for letting go of a little control. For some people, it seems second nature to delegate tasks and responsibilities while others need to learn the art. It takes practice and some trial and error to get it right. Since not all tasks and responsibilities can be delegated, we have already mentioned you cannot delegate accountability, you need to know what can and cannot be delegated. Sometimes you make mistakes and need to chalk it up to a learning experience. The first step to delegation is therefore understanding and knowing what to delegate. Some tasks you must handle and have total responsibility for yourself, while other tasks can effectively be given to others. There are no firm rules on what you can or cannot delegate, but there are a few guidelines. For instance, tasks closely related to what a team member is already working on, or tasks with clearly defined procedures and end results, are easily delegated. Repetitive tasks that fit into the normal workflow, routine and necessary tasks, detail work, information gathering, even weekly and monthly status report generation can be offloaded. Always look for tasks that enable the self-development of team members. These may be tasks that are core to your job and prepare others to be better project managers and potentially be your replacement, giving you the opportunity to move on to bigger and better jobs. And, of course, you should rarely do something that one of your team members or others are more qualified to do, such as proofing, research, and specialized technical work. These are just a few examples to help you understand where delegation can work. Then there are also tasks that should rarely be delegated. I say rarely because if you are mentoring a protege, they need many of these tasks to be delegated to them so that they can learn. Tasks that are uncertain and are not clearly defined are very difficult to delegate. If you do delegate such a task, you need to be highly accessible and create a safety buffer for the person where you ensure everyone knows you are accountable for the results. You should never overload anyone through delegation. If your project is severely understaffed, you need to resolve the staffing issue first. There are also many critical tasks that are expected to be handled by the project manager, such as leading long-term planning and goal setting, making key decisions, although you want significant input from your team, handling crisis situations, and personnel matters, including salary, discipline, and other confidential activities. In fact, many of these activities may not even be delegated to you as a project manager. You can find a number of different processes for delegation, but I prefer this 6-step method. The first step is to prepare for delegation, and by selecting tasks that are stable and well defined. If they are poorly defined, the delegate will have difficulty knowing what to do. Once the task is identified as appropriate to delegate, you need to assign the task to someone capable of doing the work. This includes setting expectations on timing, budgets, context, and communication. This is followed by 2 confirmation steps. The first is to verify that there is a complete mutual understanding of what needs to be done. Have the person reiterate the parameters around the task. But this is not good enough, as you need to also confirm the delegate's commitment to accepting the responsibility to doing the task. Too many times people say they will do the task but think they are still supporting you in getting the task done. This is especially prominent when there has been a history of micromanagement or the person has never been a delegate before. You then need to let go and prevent reverse delegation. It is amazing how quickly people can push the responsibility back to you for substantial portions or even for all the tasks. This is especially easy when you are new to delegating tasks. Lastly, and most importantly, you cannot delegate accountability for the task. However, you must hold the delegate accountable for completing the tasks and giving you regular updates on progress and asking for help when needed. By following a process like this, you avert most of the issues encountered in delegation. A process also helps you remember the steps to follow, but there are some general rules that you need to pay attention to. Always make the delegation process as collaborative with delegates as possible. Keep the lines of communication with delegates open, but avoid telling them what to do at every step. Everybody is different. While some people are experienced as delegates, others may be new and relatively insecure with the process. So tailor your monitoring to the individual. Ask for regular progress reports without being intrusive. Take periodic sampling of the work. This needs to be done more frequently with inexperienced delegates or complex tasks, and less so with people for whom you have a successful track record. Also, remember to always give high priority to delegates' questions and provide prompt feedback. Encourage people to focus on the solution and not the problem. This keeps people looking for new ideas. Remember that the delegates are likely to be new to the type of tasks that you are delegating, and mistakes will happen. This is part of learning. Resist the urge to take the task back. Finally, celebrate every success, even the small ones. In our haste to get work done, we often forget to provide authentic, positive input. Even with the best plans and practices and putting forth the best efforts, there are some common mistakes made in delegation. Never display an attitude of, "I can do it better myself." This destroys morale and motivation. In the heat of the battle also, when projects are running fast and furious, it is easy to overlook and provide all the necessary information and updates to do the tasks. So take special care to relay all the information, regardless of how small. Ignoring progress reports is also a common mistake, because it is so nice having the task off your plate. You tend to forget to check in on its progress. Managers new to delegation can lose patience when the job is not done the way that they would do it. This does not mean that the task is done wrong. It's just not done the same. So step back and look at the solution. Respect the solution and help the delegate maybe to tune it to cover any shortcomings. As we close this lesson, a quick review question might help cement the concepts. Here it is. Which of the following fits the definition of delegation? Delegation closely observes and controls the work. Delegation shifts the decision-making authority to a lower level. Delegation shifts accountability to the one who has been delegated the work. Or delegation has a negative connotation. I'll give you a few moments to think about the answer, and as always, if you need more time, just pause the lesson. The answer is, of course, B. Delegation shifts the decision-making authority to a lower level. Here are your takeaways. Micromanagement is the opposite of effective delegation and can prove destructive. Delegation is essential for effective leadership and serves as a means of motivating, developing, and empowering employees to reach their full potential. Not every task is appropriate for delegation. Core tasks of leading, planning, crisis management, and critical decision-making are examples of items that should rarely be delegated. Delegation is more than appointing tasks and waiting for completion. It's not the fire and forget. There is a process that should be followed for successful delegation. And that brings us to the end of our lesson on delegation. Until next time.